All right, everybody. Love this documentary. Been listening to the zombies going back to the 70s, obviously, but it's always on my playlist for stuff. So when I see great documentaries, you always wonder what happened to so and so. So as I'm seeing a lot of the classic bands, that these videos just all of a sudden are top popping up. The zombies was one of them. I'm like, I wonder what happened to these guys. And then, like, literally 3 weeks later, a documentary comes up. I'm like, what's this hung up? I'm like, and this is a zombies. Like, what? Because I've been watching a lot of zombie movies.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah. That's
and
amazing. It's
and it was
perfect
about
timing.
the band. I said,
Yeah.
holy what? Really? So
Yeah.
Chris and Robert, thank you guys for making this, because for one, this inspired me and it inspires a lot of my friends. I was telling people over in Nashville this past weekend about this documentary. I was at the Country
Amazing.
Music Hall of Fame and Museum saying, you got to see this documentary, because I'm always about promoting documentaries no
Yeah.
matter where
Love
I
that.
am across country. So congratulations on this. So talk about this. I love the inspiration of how everything ended, but you got to talk about how it started, because that part I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, do you want me to start?
No, you started away because you did it all. You put it all together, much to our amazement. It's fantastic. You talk about it.
So, I mean, really, I started my sort of creative life, well, wanting to make movies, and then I got sort of swept up in a good way into making albums and touring and into the world of like being a musician in a band called Rooney. And Rooney was on the road for maybe 14 years of touring and making albums and promoting them and all that stuff. And I paused being sort of relentlessly trying to obsess about the next song and the next album and the next tour. And I wanted to get back into this idea of making films. And I sort of paused Rooney business and I directed my first film that was a feature narrative in 2014 was when we shot. It came out in 2016. But that kind of got me really excited about this idea of taking that same, the juice and the power and everything you put into music and putting it towards filmmaking, because film is also very musical in that music is a very complementary piece of how you support telling stories on screen. So it felt very close to home for me. And so I've made many feature narrative scripted films, but never a documentary. But I mostly watch documentaries. That's kind of where I watch. If I'm going to sit on the couch and watch a movie or go out, I'm going to watch a documentary. And I was during the pandemic, I was speaking to a friend of mine who works in the music industry, who's, he's part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's championed a lot of great bands. His name is Rick Krim. He's a true music champion. And I just said to Rick, I was like, look, I was like, you know what film I wish I could have made, or what band I would love to make a movie about, the Zombies. Because I had heard there was going to be a movie and I was so bummed out. I thought the ship had sailed. And I was kind of like, he was like, I'm involved in aspects of their world and the music side, and I know them. I know the team. Maybe you should meet them and just kind of like talk about your passion, and maybe there's a world where you could make this movie. So that's really that was the beginning of it. It was the sort of very natural, organic conversation of I want to make a documentary. I'd love it to be about a music story. And what better story than a band that you love so much and respect so much, and a story that hasn't been told that should be told. So that's the beauty of a documentary is I always say it's like sometimes docs are about something you've never heard about ever. Like, wow, I can't believe I never knew about this. And sometimes docs are about something you know about, but you don't know enough about. So we know about the zombies, but a lot of people don't really know the story of all these years. And you have to squeeze it into a 90-ish minute film, that's the real task of how do I tell this story. But yeah, this was born out of everyone's passion to go make a film, to celebrate a band that you love, and to hopefully earn their trust and have you welcomed into their world in a way that can help get the pieces you need to tell a story. And I met Chris, I got to fly overseas and meet with Chris, and that really started to open up the story in an exciting way.
And it was
Chris,
fantastic. Yeah. Sorry,
did you
go on.
think did you think the story is going to be told 10 years ago? Did you think you'd be doing this now, doing interviews?
No, I didn't. I had no idea. And the point is, we still are all friends. We're probably the only group from the 60s to talk to each other, basically, because we are still friends. And it was 60 years ago that we actually finished for the first time because nobody wanted our stuff. And it was a few years later that we suddenly had a number one in America. So it's fantastic to see this video and to see pictures that we haven't seen for a long time. Even my 21st birthday party, us playing there, that was in 1964. So it was fantastic for us, quite a journey, and it's like living your life all over again.
Well, this is the only rock documentary that I've seen where you put a bunch of people together and you play this and you do this, and maybe you should sing. No, I think you should sing. You
Right,
don't
right,
see that anymore.
Right.
right.
Not at all. And it's a lost art. And Chris, so when that happened for you guys, that's what inspired me because I came from the world of drum and bugle corps. I played everything but a drum set. Now I could relate to that. And I was like, nobody
You
ever
would
taught
love
me
that.
how to play a drum set, but I played all percussion. And till this day, I was mimicking that to all of my friends I grew up with in Connecticut to this. It
Right.
was that's what inspired me, just the story of how the friends came together because it's usually the opposite.
Yes, it is. And it was nicely organic for us. And as I said, we still talk to each other and visit each other. So it's a long going because it's over 60 years now since we first got together.
And Robert, I'm
Yeah.
sure you're happy to get a lot of the feedback of all the stuff, especially going to South by Southwest and everything like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, a film festival is designed to spotlight movies before they're released. And it's really a place of discovery. That's kind of the point of a film festival. Some movies play film festivals and never get released,
Yeah.
right? Like, can you imagine that feeling of like working so hard and then you have this moment and then your movie's just sitting on the shelf and never gets out? So we're in a really good position. I mean, we had a great US premiere at South by Southwest. We had the guys out, like they're supporting the movie, which was awesome. Like a once in a lifetime experience. And the crowd, everyone really liked the film. And I think from South by, what you learn, it was the first moment we'd actually showcase. It was the first time we screened it for an audience in that theater. And you learn also, like as a filmmaker, I'm learning kind of every time I watch the movie something new about the movie. Just like maybe even Chris might listen to an old record, maybe suddenly something hits him, that a thought or a feeling he maybe hadn't even thought about, as far as how he looks at or hears certain songs. But the when you're in an audience watching a film and you're a part of that experience, you see and feel things differently. And we made, there was like, after South by, we realized we also had a really long movie. Like, you have to kind of be sensitive to time. Like, the length of a movie is important to consider, especially theatrically, because if you're trying to get your movie in theaters, think about theater programming. They want to make sure they can bring in the next movies and they don't want to eat up all their time at a theater. A documentary really should be close around that 90-minute kind of point. If you get over like 2 hours, it's like you may as well make it a two-part documentary. But South by was amazing. It was a great experience. People really liked the film. And I was able to really see it and feel it differently and able to go back and make my little tweaks. And then the movie is now out in theaters right now. So this is a celebratory week for us. It just played in LA, just debuted in LA last night. It was a great experience.
Hey, Chris, talk about this. Two of the things that I really loved is that the band got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but also you guys were talented on looking at other up and coming bands. You don't see that except for David Bowie discovering Luther Vandross. Um,
Yes.
and just those things like that. Because when I heard Queen, that's the best concert I've ever seen in my entire life was Queen. Fifth Row Center in Hartford, Connecticut. And I'm like, you hate when you hear somebody passing on an up and coming band that becomes phenomena.
Well, it is fantastic. And I think the era of people working together and creating together is very important. As I said before, songs are the bookmarks of our life. We live our lives through songs. They bring up back memories and everything. And when we got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I was up on stage with them, and I look along the line, and we're all 25 years ago old again, and not men in their late 70s. It was fun. great fun. It's lovely to see it on film.
Your first reaction of the audience reaction, what was that like for you, Chris?
Awe-inspiring, to be quite honest. It was like living your life again. I think angels are going to appear and take me away to heaven now, basically. But it was really exciting to see it all. And the what's his name from the Queen guitarist, Brian
Right,
May, came backstage to us at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and said, "Just wanted to say, in the middle of an interview, I'd like to say how much you affected Queen." And that is really that's a great feeling, and I lived it again through the documentary, living your life again.
well, Robert, I was telling a filmmaker, Barbara May. She and Chris, I know you know Brenda Lee. Brenda
Yeah.
Lee's become, a friend of my co-host. He grew up with her in Nashville, and it was one of those things where I was telling them about your documentary to the Barbara Hall there, who did that documentary. She did Charlie Pride. She did Minnie Pearl and all of that. So I was telling them about your film in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Country Music Hall of Fame. And she goes, "Oh, I'd like to see that." So I've been finding these great films, and I've been sharing them cross country and around the world where I'm traveling, because I'm not in Los Angeles right now. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I can tend to tell everybody, and yes, you are right. There's so many films that don't see the light of day after film festival, and I make it my point to never stop talking about films, no matter where I am. And then they go, "Where can I see this?" And luckily, I have my cheat sheets. I'm like, you could go see it here. It's streaming over here. And if you're lucky, see it on the big screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. We're getting a lot of theatrical love on this Hung Up on a Dream. Like we're getting some great theater chains wanting to screen the film. So that's a big deal, you know. That's well, A, it says something about the zombies have love. There's love about around this band. You know what I mean? Like people want to program it, and people like what they're seeing on the screen, which is also good. You leave the theater feeling good, and we need more music films in theaters. Like I think we need more films in theaters in general. That can't there. There's a big business to be had in theaters. You know, it's like I understand taking the whole family out and buying popcorn and candy and watching like a big, crazy, fun movie. Like it's an event. Hopefully people find that feeling when they see a music documentary, because it is like an event. To be Someone hit me up today who saw the film, who's and works in the music industry, and was just so happy they saw it in a theater, because they just said it was just so fun to see a movie like this on the big screen with music sounds big in that theater and impactful. So I'm hoping people really get to enjoy this window where we're seeing it theatrically.
That was going to be my last question to you, Robert, on that too. So you answered it before I even got a chance to ask. What would the audience take away from seeing that? Great one. I never had that one happen. Chris, last question to you then.
Yes.
All these young kids that are dancing to your songs, whether it's from the band The Turtles or from the Zombies, they're loving these songs. How do you feel about that today?
Very energized. It's nice. The songs are important. They are important to all of us, and it's nice to see young people. You know, I'm 82 now, basically, and I'm seeing young people, even 12-year-olds, coming along and enjoying it and saying how much they enjoyed it. That's a marvelous feeling.
Yeah. I want to thank you guys. Pleasure and honor. Robert, I'll be sharing this as always, as I always do around the country, because I got to go back to Nashville before I go back to Los Angeles to the Greek Film Festival. So I tend to tell everybody what I know they're not seeing. And that
Yeah.
makes me happy, because I want to stay in the
Love that.
forefront. And I know all about film festivals. I used to have to pick films, Robert,
Yeah.
so I know.
Got
Nothing
it.
bothers
Yeah,
me
yeah.
more than seeing a great film that doesn't see the light of day, no matter what. And Chris, thank you for that. Last thing, social media links for Robert, so everybody can see again.
Yeah, really quickly. Well, I encourage people to go to hungup.official.film. Hung Up on a Dream is the movie. So if you go to hungup.official.film, all the theatrical dates are on there for people to see where it's playing. My Instagram is Robert Schwartzman. My band's is Rooney. We have a Hung Up on a Dream film Instagram, and we also have Utopia Movies, the distribution behind the film, which also has information about the film. And Chris, take it away.
Oh, thank you for a lovely interview. Yeah. And what did you want to know from me? Because
If people
I'm
want,
sort
can people hear from you? Any updates on what you're up to? Are there social
well,
media for you?
I'm trying to think who is better, because my sons are putting my old stuff out from years ago, and
It's
that's
Chris White Experience, right?
That's my experience. That's right. It wasn't my idea to call it that. Links on here. Where? Sorry, I'm just having a look. No, well, never mind. Look, go to sunfishmusic.com from anything to do for the past 80 years. Okay.
That's cool. And it's Chris White Experience is his Instagram.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Robert.
you, guys. I appreciate it.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. Yep. Thanks,
Lovely.
Brian. Take care.
Thanks,
Thanks for your